What it do, Cucks? It's your boy, the Hater, and I wanted to make a video about the clear shift in WWE's business model. Let's pull it out, and let's talk about it as it is. So, since time immemorial, WWE and wrestling in general have relied on the ratings, right? The idea, and so have other TV shows. Now, 2 decades or so ago, Netflix popped up out of nowhere, and then eventually they got big about 10 years ago. They were still hawking DVDs. Like I remember when I was in law school, people were still like watching DVDs on Netflix, and then Netflix became a thing during that time, right? Like I remember I was one of the first people to get Netflix, and I got it for PS3. You had to like sign up for Netflix and request like that they send you this DVD, right? And you put that DVD in your PS3, and it runs the Netflix application, and then you can watch Netflix. So, and then, then we got like streaming, like, Roku and shit like that. But the point is, Netflix is still relatively new. And one thing that Netflix doesn't do is they do not reveal the ratings, right? So what has Netflix done? Netflix has paid WWE an extraordinarily large amount of money to have the rights, it looks like, for everything, right? So it's not just like the WWE network, right? Where they're going to have all the library, right? They're also going to get all of their programming. So it really isn't that big of a deal. Like, literally, it's not that big of a deal because the WWE Network, I think Peacock offered them like $5 billion. So they're offering them another $5 billion for literally the entire rights to WWE, right? Like, they're gonna have all, like, there's no more WWE TV, right? Like, think about that shit. You're gonna go on the USA Network at 8 p.m. You're gonna be watching some bullshit. It's not gonna be Raw, motherfucks. As far as I understand it, it's moving completely to Netflix. Now you may be wondering, how does that change anything? Well, I'll tell you. 2 main factors. Number 1, as I just said a minute ago, Netflix does not disclose its viewership, right? So you have no idea how successful something is or is not on Netflix, right? They might tell you, oh, this is number 1 this week on Netflix, which means obviously several million people saw it because Netflix is popular worldwide. And this will be good for WWE in growing their brand worldwide even more. Now, the problem still remains, right? We're not going to know how many people tune in to watch Raw on Netflix. Right? We're not going to know. It could be 300,000, right? So because we're not going to know, and because I can guarantee for a fact, you can look at the ratings of this week, and the ratings, like the week before WWE moves on to Netflix, are going to be bullshit. They're going to be even lower. Then they're going to have a pay-per-view, or they're going to have like an important episode of Raw to debut on Netflix. That's going to be a big deal, right? They're going to try to make that like a huge deal, probably include like some champions. Maybe that's when Roman Reigns comes back. I don't know. Maybe that's when The Rock comes back, right? Because it's a big deal. But at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. We're not going to know their viewership. The last time we're going to know how many people Raw drew is going to be like, whatever, in January or I guess December. So we still got some time, right? And we still have enough time for the ratings to completely plummet. And they will. So what is WWE doing in response to this? Some of you, the more astute ones, may have noticed the otherwise inexplicable crazy increase in advertisements in WWE programming, right? First of all, back in the day, when you would order a pay-per-view, you would get no commercials, right? You might get like an inbuilt commercial, like you might see like a 5-second, 6-second Slim Jim commercial where it's literally like Macho Man, or not Macho Man, but someone breaking through a wall and being like, snap into a Slim Jim, and that was it, right? And then like it would cut to like the announce desk, and JR would be like, no, this event is brought to you by Slim Jim, right? And then you would also, every pay-per-view was associated with a theme song, and they would hawk the theme song. They'd be like, here's like this song by like Saliva or something, right? And, album out next Tuesday, whatever, right? They would hawk that kind of stuff, right? But beyond that, there was none of that bullshit, right? None of these things happened during that time. So, what changed? Well, what changed is we have fewer eyeballs, right? So, Slim Jim might be willing to pay WWE, let's say $50,000, probably more, for a short, way more, right? For a short commercial, because it's going to be watched by like 7 million people. But soon enough, WWE is going to enter like the 1.2 million people category. And when they go to Netflix, they could have significant growth, but they could also like fail completely. That's a possibility, right? And the truth is, Netflix has nothing to lose because the deal's already been inked, and the network effects are significant for Netflix. All they're going to do is just add one thumbnail and put like the entire libraries up. But nevertheless, in order for Netflix to generate revenue, how are they going to do it, right? Netflix doesn't have commercials. They have to rely on the subscription model, right? But now they have to like worry about Raw and SmackDown as well, which is obviously a good thing because that's going to draw in more eyeballs, presumably, right? But so what? Why would Netflix, think about it this way, why would Netflix care if you watch both Raw and SmackDown, right? Netflix doesn't give a fuck. Netflix doesn't care if you log on to Netflix every day, right? Netflix cares that you stay a member. That's all. They don't give a shit if you watch whatever bullshit they're producing. They don't care, right? The show is not going to make any more or any less money unless it garners and gathers new subscribers. Netflix is obviously going to see a significant boost in subscribers around January, right? Because all the WWE dorks, like myself, are going to go to Netflix. Now, the question is, there's obviously a lot of overlap, so it's not going to be crazy numbers. Like, almost everybody already has Netflix, right? But nevertheless, this is what keeps Netflix relevant. So if Netflix doesn't care if you actually watch or not, and all they care is that you're subscribed, right? Why would they have all these shows, right? Why would they waste time paying WWE to produce all these shows? Well, the obvious answer is fucking right in front of you. It often is in the middle of the ring. You see that the amount of advertisements have gone up like easily like 200% in the last few years, right? Every 5 seconds is a commercial, right? Now they even have commercials during the match. You know what I mean? So like the commercials fall into several categories. Obviously we have our commercial breaks, which are not going to be a thing in Netflix, presumably. Well, fuck knows. Maybe Netflix decides that now it's time to introduce that shit. But we have the commercial breaks, right? Then we have the other bullshit that is essentially commercials, but presented not as commercials. So, for example, we had a match on Raw brought to you by Men's Warehouse. It's a fucking weird-ass sponsor, but nevertheless. Men's Warehouse is going to be talked about during the episode. During the LWO and the other Jabron group match at WrestleMania, they kept talking about Minute Maid Aqua Frescas, right? Everything, Minute Maid Aqua Frescas, try this. The Prime Hydration Station. The Prime logo in the middle of the ring, right? This is the direction that WWE is going under TKO and under Netflix, right? It's really that simple. It's going to be all about the sponsorships, right? Just like when those UFC dorks come out and everyone wears Venom and drinks the same fucking energy drink, right? And it's like, shut the fuck up, you know what I mean? But nevertheless, the point stands, right? The new business model is going to be very simple. They know, right? Netflix and WWE both know that they're never going to draw 7 million people for an episode of Raw ever again, probably, right? Not in our lifetimes, I don't think, right? I mean, anything's possible because it's like, you know, maybe in the next 30, 40 years, something will happen, but it just doesn't seem likely. So the truth is, once again, for better or for worse, the truth is what the truth is. Clearly, they're going to supplement their income by throwing advertisements down your throats. So be prepared to watch like one Cody Rhodes speech, 3 matches in 3 hours, right? And, you know, a lot of commercials, you know? How many times have you seen Cricket Wireless commercials, right? How many times have you seen actual commercials as part of the show? Like, you'll be watching a match, the match ends, and then they'll cut to the back, and it'll be like Montez Ford acting like a retard. And then Angelo Dawkins comes up and he's like, yo, Tez, what up, man? And then Montez will be like, nothing, man, except I just got a $5 footlong and a 5-foot churro from Subway. Oh, you did? And then they'll like, you know, eat Subway together, right? Same thing. Like, Akira Tozawa will start dancing and do the Ruffle Shuffle because Ruffles have a new flavor and they've paid WWE some money. And then WWE is like, all right, Tozawa, we brought you from Japan to wrestle, but we're not going to do that anymore because, you know, we've decided you're a jobber, even though Tozawa rules. You're going to be out here doing funny dance while you eat some chips, kid. And he's going to do what he's told because that's his job, right? So the truth is, cuckolds, the truth is, expect a lot more of this. Expect a lot more Cricket Wireless. Expect a lot more matches sponsored by Minute Maid Agua Fresca or by Men's Warehouse. You know, periodically expect something like a Mountain Dew Lights Out match or some bullshit. Expect these things because this is the future under Netflix, right? Netflix is going to try to make all their money through the sponsorships that WWE garners, right? That's the idea. It's never going to get back to what it was. Back in the day, back in the 90s, it was about wrestling. Now, when I say it was about wrestling, I mean it was about pro wrestling, meaning it was about entertainment. The fact that there's too many ads is inexcusable. And the reality is, all the dipshit Mark and Smart fans, and even a lot of the anti-Smart fans, they don't see this, right? People are too obsessed with like, well, under Vince, it was an entertainment company. Now it's a sports company. What the fuck are you talking about? Under Vince, you'd get like 8 matches in a 2-hour Raw. Under Triple H, you're going to get 85 commercials, right? And other stupid-ass forms of entertainment. And you're going to get, maybe, if you're lucky, 4 matches. You know, I still think I have the results of Raw pulled up here in one of the windows in my browser, cooks. No, I guess I don't up in this bitch. But I'm going to ask that you guys wait with me a little bit, and I'm going to look at the Raw results from this past Monday, and I'm going to see, well, here we go, Bleacher Report live grades. It's that guy. Oh, no, it's not, whatever. Let's see, match card. So here are the matches. Intercontinental Championship match, Zayn versus Gable, Uso versus Balor, King Carter and Katana Chance versus Chelsea Green and Piper Niven, aka Doudrop, Ivy Nile and Maxine Dupree versus Candice LeRae and Indy Hartwell, Andrade versus Dominic, right? 5 matches in 3 hours. I rest my case, motherfuckers. 5 matches in 3 hours, 2 of which are women's matches where not one of these women had any kind of bearing on any kind of event revolving WrestleMania, right? None of them were there, right? Andrade and Dominic were, Uso and Balor were, and Sami Zayn was. So we have 5 people that are good enough for WrestleMania on an episode of Raw, right? Then we have other bullshit, you know? I think we also had the Sheamus match, but that was a little bit weird. That, like, shouldn't have happened. It was something that happened. And so we have 6 matches. I stand corrected, right? So that means every 30 minutes you're going to get a match. And the matches are not 30 minutes. The matches are like you could probably find the length of the matches, and I bet you like all the matches combined were like a total of, let's say, 35, 45 minutes at most, right? And now you have to consider those 45 minutes, you're not seeing the whole match. Like during the main event, there was like 3 commercial breaks, right? And then during the parts that didn't have commercial breaks, you had like that bullshit that AEW started, where it's like you have the commercial break, but then you have like WWE like in a smaller screen on the side, right? So like half of that is that shit. So that being said, Cucks, say it like it is. WWE is now a marketing company. All they care about is ad revenue, right? They may as well go on YouTube because Netflix is one step away based on what they're doing, Cucks. With that being said, fuck yourselves.